What's tea of the week this time? Well, same tea.
The tea of the week's every week is the same tea.
Did you do anything different to this tea this time?
No. I took it out the bag instead of leaving it in there forever.
It's a little bit more balanced, I reckon.
Okay. Last time, a bit too intense.
Yeah. Hello, fellow AFL enjoyers. Welcome to round 3 review now. Before we crack into it though, right, we got to just acknowledge 500 subscribers we've done.
Woo!
Yeah, sitting at 501 at the time of recording. It might drop down after that, but who knows. But whilst we're there, we're going to celebrate. We're very happy.
I got to say, shout out to my mate George, 500 sub. I said I'd shout him out, so here you are.
Nice.
Shout
Thanks,
out
George.
man.
And was it 150 episodes or thereabouts now? I guess 151 now with this one. But
yeah, I think so. Yeah. So no, look, it's
massive.
Huge effort, lads. You know, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. And I hope we can continue for a long, long time. But yeah, no, it's something to be very proud of. So well done, guys.
Thanks everyone
Thanks for coming on the journey. Yeah,
that's it. I guess we don't know what we're going to do for the 500 subs special, but there is going to be something.
Storm the G.
You know, AFL enjoys little march there. But no, we're going to figure something out. We're going to try work on something. But until then, let's jump into the round, I guess.
Bombers.
Mate,
some respect.
Respect to Georgie.
Respect to George.
Respect to Georgie. Yeah. I thought he was...
Let the record show.
Let the record show. Did you actually tip them on the AFL tipping?
I did.
Wow.
I did. Look, this is the thing. We talk a lot of shit about Essendon, and then you go and tip him. How can you do that? Well, Zach Merritt during the week, or last week, said on AFL 360 that it was one of the worst performances Essendon's had in like 15 years. So what do you think they're talking about all week? Response. Yeah. It's very easy to respond the week after a terrible performance. It's not easy to back it up the week after. Expect Essendon to lose next week. But just focus on pressure, focusing on all that type of stuff to get yourself going for one game against a winnable opponent like Port, who's not playing good football. I mean, they just won, right? But I felt like it was time for Essendon's response. So that was my reasoning, at least. But yeah,
fair enough. Yeah.
Go. I was
going to say a big part of why they started to look a bit stronger, like especially defensively. Ridley comes back in. That helps out a dude like, say, Zach Reid a lot, because all of a sudden, you know, it's just a little bit less pressure on him defensively. And plus, the forward line for Port is decimated as well.
Georgiades was hot early.
Yeah.
What did he kick in the end? He had, what am I looking at? Only 2 goals too. I think he sprayed a couple as well. Like, he could have easily had kicked 3 or 4 by half time.
Yeah.
So he was the only one that really got off, but everyone else, was really disappointing. I must say, when I saw Essendon start, like, running hot, handball chains, like they're really giving it their all, like George said, like the effort was there. And then there was heaps of turnovers. Ugly game of football.
Sloppy as.
And I thought, with how hard they're going to start this game, if they don't get the scoreboard up, I think they're going to fade. And to their credit, in the last quarter, cheeky sub in his first game, Al Hawley, excellent impact.
Yeah.
I think that goal where he ran and did a bit of a madness in the middle of the park ended in a goal for Nick Martin. Sort of gave him the energy, I think, to just kick on, because I think they were about to lose it, to be honest.
I think that's the perfect sub, really. Someone who can just break through the lines, because everyone else is tired. He has pace. All of a sudden, he looks 10 times faster than what he already is. So, you know, and another thing that was advantageous is because he got subbed in after he was able to break his fast. So he's probably knocking down some pasta. I don't know.
Sorry, he was eating a sandwich on the bench.
Yeah, there he goes, eating a sandwich on the bench. PB&J, you know, he's getting his electrolytes in. So he was ready to go. You know what I mean? So it worked out pretty well having him as the sub and impact.
He was very highly touted in the mid-season draft last year, but he came in and he was injured, so he didn't play at all last year. I think he would have played straight away.
He would have, yeah. No, I remember there was a game in the VFL. I actually was watching it. It was on at work for some reason, and he kicked 4 goals in that game in the VFL, and then at the end of the game, he copped an injury, and that's what made him miss the rest of the season. So that was big impact from him. And I think impact from Kako and Caddy, both of them together, they linked up for one of the last goals of the game, and that would have just brought such a smile to the Essendon fans' faces and Zumi's face. So that's look, a bit of nourishment for the Don supporters. And I guess on the other end, it's it's good for everyone else because we don't like Port.
It's crazy to me. Yeah, I think they're on ball. I mean, we know Butters is out, but still, you look in there. Obviously, Horn Francis is not playing well enough at the moment. Rosie wasn't great.
Yeah. Well, he was probably the difference when he falls and his impact falls and it has a big impact.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Guys like Willem Drew, like he's solid. He's a good teammate, I think, but he's not breaking the game open.
Yeah, we've got to give credit to Durham, who was running with Rosie as well.
Did a great job.
So that's that's the sort of performance that keeps your position safe. In that midfield. So, and I think they do have a bit of competition for spots in there. So he's put his hand up to be like, hey, I'm going to be the guy in here. Whether it's tagging or whether it's actually getting my own. So 28 disposals for him. So
the Bombers had 15 more inside 50s. Actually, as I was watching, I thought Radaglia and Alira were great. Thought they did a really good job stopping things getting worse sooner. They're just very athletic, got to every ball, spoiled it and so forth. But going the other way, man, Port, man, that was sloppy as well. Essendon was sloppy, but they were sort of trying to play that chaos ball. So you sort of take the good with the bad with that. But Port, I don't know what their excuse is, to be honest. You're under the roof, Marvel Stadium. It should be a cleaner game than it was.
They've dropped off the cliff from last year. Port, I mean, who have they really lost? They've lost Houston. And obviously Butters, who's their best player, is not playing, but that's shouldn't be enough to derail you to this point.
Charlie Dixon as well.
Yeah, but I think those are it's a big player per line, which sucks. But I think with Port as well, they tried to replace Dixon with Lukosius, and he's out.
Yep.
And Todd Marshall as well.
Yeah.
Look, at least at that stage, there's some goal threats. I know they don't provide you what Charlie Dixon does in regards to just the dude who can, take a contest and, he can break packs.
I don't think Dixon has been that player for a long time, though.
Yeah, true. That is true. But look, just a forward line threat, you know what I mean, is, they've lost that, 2 out of their 3 main key forwards. And Ollie Lord as well, a dude who, we thought had, some high potential. Didn't play much last year, but the year before showed promise. I'm assuming he's injured as well, right? I haven't really checked the injury list, but he'd be in their top, best 22 with all those guys out. It's steep drop off. And I don't know, is it a little bit in their heads that, hey, this is the coach that we're not going to be playing for next year? Does that have an impact?
I was just going to say, I think maybe, but I think more so they're actually playing the kids, which is the one thing I'll give credit for. Like Berry's in there, Morais is in there.
Morais had a big game as well.
Yeah, Josh Sin's good as well. I like Sin. I think he's got that drive off halfback that they need. But obviously there's a bit of inexperience there. So it seems like to me a year where they're just sort of acknowledging, that baton's being passed, try and start the new system going, start the youngsters playing and so forth. And maybe they'll be better off for it. But this year definitely not going to achieve what they achieved last year, which was that prelim. And
I would have still thought they would have had expectations for finals, though. Like if we say that Port's going to finish, 10th or 11th, that's a fail. That'd have to be a fail from their perspective.
But like we said, a few of those key cogs out, and then you're replacing them with rookies deliberately. I can see maybe they're just acknowledging, hey, like this isn't our best crack at it. So maybe just take a half step back to go forward next year. We don't know the conversations they're having, but their actions aren't screaming to me like we're going all guns blazing for the top 4 again. I don't think they think that they're capable of that, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair.
And, a guy like Horn Francis, his body language says it all. He's not engaged.
He
looks like North Melbourne Horn Francis again.
True.
Which is very on point with his character.
It's not like he had like an atrocious game or anything in terms of 20 odd still possessions. I think he kicked the goal, but yeah, you're right. It's just his heart's not in it.
Yeah, it wasn't a full quarter performance. I think that's the issue. Like I think in the I don't know if it was the second or the third quarter, all of a sudden he started looking like, the serious threat that he is. But you've got to do that the entire game, man. Yeah. And then your team wins. That's how it works.
This is kind of his opportunity to step up. The fact that Butters has been out for the whole year, for him to kind of first 3 games dominate and say, hey, I've got your back. I'm here. I'm kicking goals. I'm this kind of all-Australian type of threat this year. But
between Wines, Horn Francis and Rosie, there's no excuse to get smashed.
And it's not like Sweet's a bad ruckman. He's a solid ruckman. It's not like he's not like... I feel like he's a similar level to Draper and Bryant, where he can at least break even there. And then you'd think that they would win, perhaps win that midfield battle. But then, look, got to give credit to where credit's due to, to Durham, to Merritt, to Caldwell as well. He's started the season pretty much how we, finished it last year, when he was just a ball magnet and he's rapid. I don't think his ball use is as it's not always as good. Like this game, his ball use was a little bit bit shifty.
The whole team, both teams are just no good with it.
But look, and actually, you know what? You got to give a little bit of shout out. I just had a look at it now. 709 meters gained. he played 67% CBAs. Dylan Shield, winding back the clock. I don't think this is going to be a permanent thing for him because they've got guys to come back like Parrish and Sardis. But look, if he can come in and provide that type of performance, yeah, for sure.
This kind of game sort of suits him because the whole overall skill level was down, but it just needed line breakers. It was a very like straight line game. Players weren't really looking in the peripheries, like trying to hit the angles. It was just like go, go, go. So I think it suited him. But if he's... This is the thing, like George said, like Bombers probably their next game, you can't expect them to replicate this because it's not a sustainable way to play. It was just like a bounce back sort of, we need to go all guns blazing here. But if they play it like that all year, I can't see them winning.
Yeah, and they are going to struggle next week because they do have the bye.
Well,
so, to get another win is going to be
Bye's
very
undefeated.
difficult. Yeah, 100%.
Anyway.
It seems like, again, we always stall a little bit before, Georgie has to give us his
It's kind of unfair being a Carlton fan at the moment, man.
You G'd up the chat pre-game, tried to G up the boys.
I'm a bit temperamental, aren't I? In that chat?
It's like, guys, I'm not watching this. Yeah. I'm going out instead.
Look, to be truthful, I didn't watch the full game, but I watched a lot of it, kind of on the phone, on the fly. It's getting to the point again, and you guys will probably understand this being North fans over the last couple of years. You start to get a little bit apathetic to the kind of result, and you kind of go, whatever. Like on Friday night, I realized I screwed up my Supercoach emergencies, and I was so gutted about that. I didn't even care that they lost. Like I actually felt physically ill because I'd ruined my top 1% performance.
Davidson,
and then like I had forgotten about Carlton lose. It's like, oh, Carlton lost. Oh, Davidson 130 on the not
fumble.
emergency, right? So that kind of shows you where you're at, if that's kind of where your focus is.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
If you ask why, well, man, I don't know what the stat is, but I think it's 2 wins in 12 or 2 wins in 13 games. That record is almost as bad as any team in the comp.
And again, we mentioned
it might be the worst, or it might be, I don't know how it goes to West Coast.
We mentioned
West Coast.
Yeah, we mentioned it last week. Those 2 wins were against North and West Coast.
That's right. And we've got you guys in a couple of weeks, and I'm not probably the first time that we've done over the podcast that you might get a win, and I wouldn't be surprised, right?
So the other 2 teams that are on 0 wins is Melbourne and West Coast.
Yeah,
and so you guys are 16th. So there you go. Something to be positive about. Yeah, you're number 1 of the bad teams
with no first round draft pick this year.
Yeah,
beautiful.
Yeah, true. Hey, mate, another team without a first round pick. I'm pretty sure Melbourne. Did they trade their pick
to
Essendon so they can get they ended up with the Lindsay Harvey Langford sweepstakes? Shout out to Essendon for that. But anyway, digress. Back to Carlton.
Yeah, I mean Carlton trading where obviously they traded for Jagger, but their expectations were obviously that they weren't going to finish super low, and we'll see where they end up falling. But yeah, I mean, there's just so much to kind of unpack about this game. And you guys, obviously, I'm a Carlton supporter, so you're looking to me to give you some explanation of why they suck. And I don't think I've got anything for you, man, because every game that we watch, we get a little bit more evidence that they're bad, but we just can't explain it. We can't, or more questions than answers pretty much after every performance, right? So if you look at the game, you go, all right, obviously Carlton tried to play a more speedy game style. You could see Zach Williams with that goal to Kerner. Like, I haven't seen Zach Williams do that for Carlton at all. Once.
No, I don't think I've seen that.
That's probably the most impressive play he's done in 5 years, right? And so there's obviously, he's trying to take the game on, then he gets injured in typical Zach Williams fashion. But you could see that the boys were moving the ball with a bit more freedom. They were changing the angles. It looked right. It looked like it should. And we led for most of the game, right? But, I don't know. I can't explain it. Obviously, even the coach can't really explain it, but every second half game that Carlton has played this year, they've gone massively in the red, massively negative. So I think it's like minus 80 points in second halves or something across 3 games, which is a big concern. And you go, why aren't Carlton running out games properly? My suspicion is it's Carlton, anytime the team comes and gets close, they go into their shell and they stop playing the right way. And I think it's also, they've only got one way of playing, and once the opposition team looks at that and shuts down, Zach Williams is getting a bit of run, put someone on him, that's it, that's the answer. So they don't have avenues or ways to be creative to keep playing. You look at someone like the Hawks, they can play in so many different ways, right? And they can accelerate and they can decelerate for a bit, catch their breath and go again. Carlton's they just run, they run, they're puffed, they can't go anymore because they've only got one way of winning. And you look at the who scored the goals. Kemp kicked 5 goals. Lewis Young, who's like the worst footballer ever, kicked 2.
Even without Mackay, there was support there for Kerno.
Right? And Kerno kicked 3 goals, and he did some nice things like, wind back from, pre-injury Kerno, doing some cool stuff. And you go, wow, if these guys are kicking goals, surely we're winning, right? How many goal kickers were there in the game for Carlton?
4.
4 goal kickers, man.
I'm looking at it right now.
Motlop, right, kicked the first goal in the first minute. No small forward, kicked the goal for the rest of the game.
Yep.
And no midfielders.
No midfielders, nothing, no support. We're relying on 5 goals from Brody Kemp to keep us in a game with the Dogs when they don't have the best player in the competition and another All-Australian in that midfield mix. And a player that we traded away kicks 2 goals, including like one of the winning ones. Like
he was great,
and
he was good.
Yeah, Kenny's a good player. I've always been a fan, right? But
He stepped up. He was
what
a
I'm
good player.
saying is, Carlton has the whole preseason to get their game plan right. After 2 weeks, on the 3rd week, they changed their game style, which goes to show that they've lost faith or they realise that something's not right.
It's like what Essendon did. We just said, they played
And
this fast.
they've gone fast, right? But then they still lost. So then it just leaves you in no man's land. Oh, we've changed it up. Shit, we've realised we've got to do something different. We do something different. It still doesn't work.
Well, you just mentioned the Hawthorn. Hawthorn, we said last week, they trained that chaos ball for a few years and then refined it. Teams that panic like your Essendons, your Carltons right now, trying to play fast. Even Melbourne did it. We'll get to them. If it's not what you've trained, it's just chaos and it's high variance. It can go well. Like he scored a few nice goals out the back, like you said. And then there was heaps of mistakes as well.
Yeah.
What I did notice though, at the end, we said like Carlton went in their shell a bit. The Dogs, and I saw it firsthand in round 1, at the start of that game, they were hitting these 30, 35 metre dart balls up the corridor, switching the ball. Really, like when you're watching it on TV, you're like, that's a gutsy kick. But then in reality, it's just a 35 metre kick that's just pinpoint. And they did a few, but they just sort of like one kick to the next, into their 50 efficiently and quickly, which Carlton tried, and then there was a few turnovers. So I just think like right where the game was in the balance, they didn't go in their shell. They still took on the kick and actually improved it.
Yeah.
And the Carlton players just started fumbling it a bit, and it's a fine margin game at that point. But I think like Dogs sort of definitely, in my opinion, took the game when they needed to and won it.
Yep.
In the key moments.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole Voss era, Carlton has always been like this. And they've had within games and within seasons massive rises and massive letdowns. And that just seems, no matter the year, no matter the result, there always seems to be a part of the season where it's super dramatic. There's never just a flat line. And look, we talk about that Richmond loss, right, which is, the first game of the season. Every game or every round that goes by now, you get more and more context to how bad Richmond actually is. And no matter the team, like Saints destroyed them, Port destroyed them last week. That's what Carlton should have done. Carlton lost. Only Carlton would lose that game.
In that manner, especially.
In that manner. It's just a Carlton thing to do. And you go, why is it a Carlton thing to do? Well, I can't work it out. But it's something in the minds. It's just what Carlton will do. They'd lose it. And when all the fans were describing that performance, words like season ending, coach ending, it was very dramatic. And it was dramatic for a reason, because it threatened to kind of compromise the season. Look at us, we're 0-3, man. And make no mistake, we will be 0-4. There's no chance we're beating Collingwood. Well, that's as bad as a start as we've had since, rebuild days.
What it tells me, that first Richmond result, not to spend too much time on that one, but if Richmond can do that from that position, suddenly in every game, like you said, the Carlton players will go into their shell and every other team will not give up. And not that they should, but, it's a reality. If you've seen a really poor team achieve something, that's motivation.
Yeah.
And Carlton has that as the opposite of that, which is, fear, maybe a bit of anxiety and so forth. So it's all between the ears as far as I'm concerned.
It has to be, because there's no one's out there saying that Richmond is a better team than Carlton, right? And all of those goals were kind of turnover kicks. So they haven't been able to defeat their mental demons. And I also just don't think that they have the class in the lower half of their list just to be able to do the basic skills and kind of get momentum back.
Well, on that, actually, I did want to shout out. So there was a couple of players that I thought bottom of the Dogs list who really stepped up. So one, I don't know if he's bottom of the list anymore, but Buku Kamas I thought was great. Vandermeer in the clutch moments, great.
Yeah, Latham, shout out to him.
Yep.
Even though I don't like that name, but
oh man,
I like the name, just not the hair.
Call him whatever you want. He played great. Sanders, I know, like he's got a high potential, dominant mid to him in the future, but he's not really top of their structure.
Yeah,
he was great. Like really clean when a lot of players weren't.
Yeah.
And there's just more and more examples you can give, like Davidson out of nowhere. Great.
Mate, that,
shout out, right?
He looks like he belongs at AFL level already. It's very impressive.
And not to pick on any particular player, but just look at the example, like the opposite wing. You're looking at an Ollie Hollands, right? Tries his guts out. He's a solid player. But these guys come in from the VFL and dominated him.
Yeah.
So as far as I see, those bottom of your list sort of guys rely on structure and things going well so they can have their positive impact, play their role. If things are a bit chaotic, everything's up for grabs.
Yeah,
I
agree.
And no one took the moment.
Look, I agree with that 100%. I think the Dogs have started the year fantastically given the circumstances, and they've got a lot of good players to come in. If they can, I think they're playing as a team. I think they've significantly improved actually. So if I'm a Dogs fan, I'm pretty excited. But from a Carlton perspective, I don't even know what's going to happen. The fallout and the pressure that's going to come on this team over the next week, especially because it's going to be Collingwood that's going to add the insult to injury, is insane. But I mean, obviously, sacking Voss is not going to be the answer, even though I think the whole footy world is in agreement that he's not the man, which is crazy. But he probably isn't. But getting rid of him, what does that really do? But then you look at something like the interchanges. You know that we had 63 interchanges this game, which is a season low. So we didn't use our full interchange.
And I read something that Kerno, Walsh and Silvani at one point was stuck on the
for like
bench.
4 minutes.
And Silvani was playing really well.
Yeah.
Like he had Norton in his pocket and then Norton kicks one of the game-winning goals.
So I just...
Which, by the way, was that a goal? For me, it looked like it might have been a point, but anyway.
Anyway,
who knows?
Whatever. But you look at that and you go, how can a professional organisation screw that up that hard? Right? And that's where you make, what is this team? What is this coaching? What are they doing? Why can't they come up? And then a player will miss like a basic handball and you go, it's the players. And then you look back at the history of the last 10 years of recruiting and go, it's the recruiting. So you know what it is? It's just everything, man. The club has just got a cancer in it that it needs to cut out, and I don't know how to do it. But I did do a little bit of analysis of the list, and I think we kind of evaluated. There's about 10 or 11 really good players, but there's 10 players that just would not touch another side. Yeah. And I think Carlton needs to be smart about the way that they kind of clean out those players and replace them with class over the next couple of years.
Fair enough, man.
Yeah.
No, well said.
Yeah. On the Doggies, just for a little bit, Davidson, we said briefly earlier how good he was. So he had 10 marks. The top disposals 31. So the way he sort of played on the wing and the way he was able to link up the play, right? You have him linking up the play, and then you have Darcy also coming up the ground as well and linking up the play. Both of those dudes are great ways to get into the forward line. You know what I mean? So whether, and Darcy, sometimes he comes out, sometimes he can be a bit deeper. If he's not deeper, Aaron Norton's there. All of a sudden there's a, contested mark there. It's actually like without Jamara, all of a sudden they're way into going into the 50. Like, not going to say it's better without him, but like it still works.
The Darcy point's a great one because you can look at it two ways. You can just play him deep and just plop it on his head and he'll kick a bag each week.
Yeah.
Or you can use him as a means to get forward more efficiently and quickly.
Yeah.
And they're definitely doing that.
Yeah.
And they play with, like I said, they bite off those 35-meter kicks. They'll get that first one out of the defense, second one, and then it's a Darcy outside 50 on the wing. And from there, just anything goes, right? Because someone's run with him. Like, Wiedering will run with him. Something's compromised. Like, you have to go with him with a really good defender. But I think, credit to Bevo, man. He's coaching the hell out of this side at the moment without a few core pieces. So, well done, Doggies.
The use of Darcy, such a unique player, I think is really good because like he kicked 2 goals, but he might have been the most impactful player on the day, and that's because of the marks up the field, and that's just bringing the ball forward for him. So I'm super impressed, man, with the way they're going about it, man. Other than that, Matt Kennedy, he brought it. Libba has just he's gone back to like the uber elite player he was maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. And it makes sense because he's the number 1 midfielder right now,
Yeah, he's stepped up.
Yeah, like Richards is great as well, but Libba is still above him. So, we've got to give those players credit where it's due. And there was I think it was Liam Jones had a play where he's running back with the flight and he makes impact. Man, like that's just players putting their body on the line for a team. And that's, they deserve the win. They deserve the win.
100%.
Jump into the next one, lads.
Melbourne v Gold Coast, man. Melbourne losing 2 weeks in a row. Once 59 points, 158. Very similar scoreline as well. That's telling. They
Yeah.
were atrocious.
Yeah, and you know what? Like, I feel like you can put a lot of the blame in the midfield, man, where all the experience is. Where Gorn, Clary, Petrarca, Viney all play. They've been destroyed 2 weeks in a row.
Everything is broken with them at the moment in a bad way. I was particularly interested in watching how they would start the game, and this includes whatever footage they would show as to like their huddle, like just little things. I'm always fascinated with that, especially after North spanked them last week. And it was very interesting in the rooms before they even ran out, right before the official entry into the game. And Goody's joined the circle. They're all huddled up. He's smiling, like trying to brighten the mood. And then they've run out. They've huddled up again after they've run through the banner. I'm like, okay. Personally, I said it last week. The Kumbaya vibes Melbourne is very fake, and I think the result sort of shows it. They didn't come out like even a Carlton did. Kick a couple, show that they're pumped up, they're ready to go. I think everything they're trying to do is just band-aids over big holes, and it's leaking through horribly. Fritchie's dropping marks. Clary's running with the ball, ready to kick it, and just ball falls out of his hands. Petrarca's just mugging off his teammates every mistake they're making. So much is wrong. Lindsay is probably their best. Langford probably their best mid, and that's saying something. Yeah. Gorn doesn't look like he wants to be there either now. He's always the face of the club. He's probably had enough as well after what happened last week. That was poor form from Goody.
Yeah, 100%. And Lindsay, you're about to mention him. He gets injured in the first 5-10 minutes. Like and he was the bright spark.
Correct. Stephen May's just giving away frees, getting frustrated because the ball's just coming in any which way. Like key defenders, I never really roast when that happens because what are they going to do?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's all about the pressure up the field.
Yeah. So I think Melbourne's in trouble from a culture point of view, and like you said, like Carlton could be rotten in many ways. I think they're very similar.
Yeah, I agree.
I was unlucky as well that the one day where Steve May comes back into the side, Lever goes out. So all of a sudden, it's just like they can't control, that part of the ground.
No,
because I feel like you kind of need both of them, and I feel like maybe in the past they've been able to go with just one of them, but when the midfield pressure is not there,
correct,
one of those guys is not enough.
There was only one player, and I'm not just saying this because I have him on draft, but there was one player that was clean for Melbourne the whole game, and that was Jake Bowie. Everyone else,
big game.
Everyone else was fumbling the shit out of the ball. It was embarrassing. And the only bright note for Melbourne is that only 8,000 fans were there to see it. It was...
Was it only 8,000?
8,603 apparently.
At the G.
At the G.
That it's pitiful,
in round 3.
Wow, man.
That's what North does, man. You get spanked by North, say bye-bye to your fans, man.
Yeah,
it's game over.
Bro. Why would you go, man?
You can blame Gold Coast, but like in reality, that's probably 8,000 Melbourne fans, 600 Gold Coast.
Was that confirmed 8,000 crowd?
8,603.
Because I saw that it was a small crowd because it's always a small crowd for Melbourne. But that 8,000 is ridiculous.
99% sure I read that correctly.
I hope it is 8,000. That's so funny. That's
like A-League crowds, bro. What is that, man? Like
disgusting, right?
Man,
so
the VFL's got more than that. You're right.
That's the bright spark. So shout out to those Melbourne fans that actually went. But yeah. Well done Gold Coast though.
Yeah, nah, look, man. Matty Rowell, he went like super beast mode, man. Like that's just...
Oh, sorry. I've just talked absolutely shit right there. There was 24,000.
Look, 8,000.
I don't know where I read it. Blame Twitter.
You had us believing it.
8,000 sounded
the
wrong,
fact that you believed it,
sounded
says it all.
Look, yeah, 100%.
Make no mistake, 24,000 is
24,500.
not much better.
Yeah.
It's not a lot better, man.
No, it's not.
I mean, it is triple 8,000, but it's not a lot better.
Everyone listening probably believe me.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Unless you're a Melbourne fan.
Oh, man. Now no one's going to believe anything we say.
Probably.
Look, you shouldn't believe anything we say, but look, one thing you should believe, Raul, again, he's the man, bro.
Do you know how many centre bounce clearances he got?
Can I guess?
Tell me.
Guess. Centre bounce.
Centre bounce. Ooh.
So 13 clearances in total. How many centre bounce?
11?
I was going to say 11. I'll say 10.
9.
Oh,
9.
Okay.
That's insane, man.
That is.
And some of them were eye-catching, like bursting, like genuinely.
You know what? I was thinking about it before the pod, actually. I'm like, I can't wait for Georgie to tell me Raul's clearance stats, bro.
I'm too predictable, man.
Bro, you love
I love a clearance
and
man.
numbers.
I love a clearance, man.
Those type of players, man. And look, yeah, he looked unbelievable, man. They're gonna have to really get keep a hold of him, man. Yeah. Because all of a sudden that midfield, man, it's so dynamic,
insane,
bro.
Man.
Him, Noah Anderson, Bailey Humphrey.
Well,
Flanders
took Miller's back, man. He kicks 3 goals a week and gets 30 possessions, man.
Mate, he's gonna be mid forward in Supercoach. I'm gonna love it.
He's a freak, man. So look, and you know what I like about all those players? They're all play slightly different. They all give you, they're all running players, but Rouse your contested beast. Anderson does both. Miller can do both, but now he's kicking goals. Humphrey's the younger player that's tough, that's coming in. Flanders can play halfback, can play mid, can play half forward, kicks goals, can run. Changes his haircut, man. They've got everything, man.
And I think we all sort of agree, like Noble and Rioli on paper seem like good acquisitions based on what they needed, and they've both started the season very well.
That's true. And then they've got their tools that have come in. Reed, Walter, Ben King is kicking goals. Man, look, it was always going to happen with Gold Coast, but surely this is the year for finals.
Finals is right there for them.
It's right there, man.
And they've started as you'd expect with 2 wins.
But there's unlimited talent in this team, and that's what happens when you're your expansion club for over 10 years and you failed and failed and failed. Eventually, there's a weight of numbers. It has to turn.
Yeah,
and I think this is the year, man.
The interesting thing for them, like, it's amazing, but at the same time, like, they've sort of been given the red carpet of a draw the first 2 games. Next week, they have Adelaide at People's First.
Yeah, their first time game.
Yeah, that's going to be an amazing game to watch, man. I'm so keen on that. Saturday 1:20. We'll be watching that.
That's the Kelly Underwood, that one.
Yeah, it better not be, bro. Better not be. That's game of the round just about between those 2 informed clubs. But yeah, look, Gold Coast fans, mate, be excited. Be excited. We're excited, man. Like, to be honest with you. But yeah, there's just so many options everywhere around the ground. Man. So
everywhere.
Yeah, anyway.
And they're just scratching the surface on their young talent, yeah?
Well, that's the thing. Well, I feel like Walter, who, Dino rated really, really highly in the draft.
I rated him above Harley Reid, which right now,
Harley's
not exactly running away with that mantle.
No, he's not. So, like, look, obviously there's a bit of pedigree there, man. If he starts coming along as well and getting bags, but yeah, we'll move on to another thumping game here. St Kilda versus Richmond. St Kilda backed up what they needed to do. A laid out from Jack Steele. So you see that and you're just like, okay, maybe they just took the opportunity to be like, all right, Jack's dealing with some niggles. We'll get him out of there.
Yeah, you don't want to risk it with him. He's always got his shoulders strapped, knees strapped. If he's not well, just hold him out.
He's a mummy. Yeah. So what's it called? But everyone else they just.
Well, Garcia got some midfield minutes as a result.
Yeah, he did. Sinclair was everywhere. 40 disposals, just went crazy.
I watched the first half of the game and I thought, look, it's a close game. Surely St Kilda blows him out. And lo and behold, after my dinner plans ended and I checked the scores, I'm like, yeah, that's about what I expected.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think that's what you're going to get from Richmond. Like, they're going to give you a quarter or a half, and then it'll be over.
Yeah, you take the positives though. I mean, Trainer had his best game yet.
Yeah, Seth Campbell's actually quite a weapon. 3 goals. I like him, man.
Yeah. He's got a bit of moxie to him.
I was just about to say that for you.
He's got moxie, bro.
Anyone that can do a flip.
Matt's his moxie man of the week.
That's it, mate.
Seth
Campbell has moxie. I feel like I was impressed by the small forwards in general in that game. Like, so him, Collard with 2 goals, Max Hall with 2 goals as well. It was a good day for the small forwards.
St Kilda operates really well, surprisingly, when King's out, because these small forwards are the highlight. Like,
but they're quite dangerous.
Owens, Higgins, now Collard. Yeah. Mason Wood is that sort of medium presence. Goes well. You can find the ball as well, go up the ground. So, yeah, it kind of suits them when they play with that freedom and just get the ball to ground and just, really trap the ball in there. And Richmond eventually faded. So,
yeah,
there's not too much more to say about the game, to be honest.
But really isn't.
Well done to Sainers.
One more thing. Because Steele was a laid out, Travaglia got a full game.
Yeah, he has a bit of moxie to him as well.
He did, man.
Nice player.
100%, man. So that's another nice little pickup for them. I think that's what we needed. Look, that's what they need, St Kilda. They just need to see him. I've heard good things about the other Tyroo. Tyroo, I don't know if he's back in the VFL next week, perhaps. So he's he's an AFL debut is pending for him. Philip, who's probably another 4 or 5 weeks away. Those are the guys they want to see, and then obviously Richmond. It's the same thing for them. They just want to see their young guys doing well. Next game, 2 games at once here. So
probably the 2 best games as well.
Yeah, so we'll do Brizzy Geelong first.
Sure.
This is a game. I was funny enough that of the 2 games, I probably should have been watching the other one, but then. Both games' conditions were weird. Like, it was windy in the other game. In this one, it was wet as. But like the shining light through this game, McCluggage was one. But the one for me, because I have him in Supercoach and he got me 136 points, baby, is Will Ashcroft, man. Like that, Fags said himself that he thinks that this is the best performance he's had. And I can see why, because like he's clean, as an inside mid, down and dirty type player, but also he's just breaking lines ability, and the fact that he's constantly running and pushing the team forward, man, it really just helps them progress the play, and he uses it well too. So yeah, man, that was very, very strong performance.
This game's a classic example why Brisbane's so hard to stop, right? Because you got Neil 20 touches, Dunkley 26. Like, no worries. He was 30 for McLaughlin, 33 for Ashcroft.
Yeah.
They're so deep in the midfield.
So deep.
Geelong couldn't go with them the whole game.
No.
As far as I see. I mainly watched the Hawthorn game, but what I've seen of this game is just like, Brizzy, when the going went tough,
in the third quarter, they had, I think, 20-4 inside 50s that quarter. That's just complete domination. And what's interesting about the Lions is last year they were starting slow, or they were starting fast, right, and then getting overtaken. Now they're starting fast. The other way around? Slow. Now they're starting slow.
Yeah.
Other way around. Sorry, but what I'm saying is they've kind of been behind, I think, almost in every game and have come back and won this year. So it's kind of an opposite of what they've done last year, and they're 3-0 this year, and they were 0-3 last year. So a team that just won the flag, that's, finding a way to win and going 3-0.
I think they just know exactly what they are and their capabilities.
Yeah.
And they're not coming out with 110% effort. They're just sort of gauging how hard they need to go and then bringing it.
They're not playing at their best, that's for sure. But they managed to get all the wins so far. So
actually, little pop quiz. One of Georgie's favorite stats: meters gained, right, for Zorko.
Oh,
have a guess.
730.
I'll go like 860.
834.
Oh,
that's huge.
That's very
numbers.
That's monster
huge
numbers.
So
Acupuncture
Zorko, man. Like,
this guy's almost playing career best football.
No, legit. All he needed was acupuncture and to play half back, and all of a sudden he's one of the most impactful players in the league. And actually, another impactful sub this week, Bruce Revel, man.
Yeah,
Bruce Revel. A bit of pace. He scored a goal, and it was a nice goal as well. And he's kicking. He's able to kick the ball whilst running on the side, which I think is impressive for a dude who's, I can't remember, where's he from? He's from Papua New Guinea or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I know that, he's probably he might be relatively new to the sport still. It's very impressive that he was able to go about it like that and give that, impact as a sub.
His foot skills are very, I remember last year watching him sort of break out a little bit. His foot skills are very good.
Yeah, it's a surprise, It is a surprise. But yeah, other than that,
Caps dropped 2 in a row.
You had him first on the ladder, Matt. So 1 and 2.
In round 1, you're like, you guys doubting me. now what?
Nah, you're right. Look, hey, mate, I can't predict Tom Stewart's going to get injured. I can't predict Bailey Smith is going to get... Look, I can't
what happened to Bailey Smith? Oh, the other game.
Yeah.
Look, they're clearly a good team, man.
Yeah.
But they haven't started the year crash hot if they're 1 and 2.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, the last week's loss was the shock one. This one's not a surprising loss. They made a good account for themselves for the most part.
That's true.
And come on, this is in Brisbane as well, man. Like, this is par for the course for them.
So what we're saying is like GMHBA or nothing for these guys.
Pretty much, man. Like, so who they got next week, man? They got Melbourne, man. There you go. They'll be 2-2.
Geez.
That game, you chuck Bailey Smith as your VC. You're cool, man. It's on a Friday night.
That's a slaughtering, that one. Anyway, we'll get to that.
100%. Anyway. I guess we can.
The Hawks game was very interesting, considering like those windy games in Tassie are always like interesting to watch for a different reason than usual.
Tactics.
In the first quarter, I didn't actually realize because I had the volume low. I had my brother over, who's a Hawthorn fan. We were sort of socializing while watching, and I didn't. Obviously, I would have spoken about the wind like a lot in that first quarter, but we didn't really realize until one of the kicks for goal was just like started at the behind post and then went for a behind the other way.
Whitfield, I think Whitfield. That's the one where it opened my eyes. I'm like, wait a second, this is weird.
And then at that point, Hawks were down like 5 goals. I said to my brother, like, look at that win. Like, you guys will be fine. It's probably a 5-goal win. Yeah. And then lo and behold, the second quarter, Hawks came back. But it was really that third quarter where you were expecting it to go again the other way, and it didn't. So credit to the Hawks on that. They're a smart team, man.
Super smart. I mean, they've got the best coach, and you can see that the way in the third quarter they kind of carried the ball a little bit more instead of relying on the kicking. So they moved it with their hands, which is what you kind of feel like you need to do if the windy conditions are out of your control, right? Yeah. So they're just smart, man. They don't blaze away. They don't do dumb stuff, and they can adjust to the conditions better than any other team. Whether it's wet, whether it's windy, they just make it work.
And there's guys like Weddle who'll seem like he's playing full back, spoil the ball, and then a minute later the ball's in full forward and he's taking a mark. And you're just thinking like, there's really only a few guys on this team that stick to a position, like a Barris or a couple of those really key posts. Everyone else, it seems to the eye like anything goes.
Yeah.
They're constantly switching around and just all around players, like really good at what they do.
It's like positionless basketball. You know what I mean?
Positionless footy in a way.
Positionless footy, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be them, man. It's gonna be their fault for it. Yeah. There you go. Nah, they were excellent, man.
You got to give a shout out to the Wizard, man.
Yeah,
Wiz was great.
He's just a freak of nature.
Yeah. You won a 1-on-1 with Himmelberg at one point.
Yeah,
Nudged him
that
under
was
the ball. Like, come on, man. What are you doing?
The guy was running from half back to half forward, like just dodging around people. Insane. Like, I know it's harsh to judge him in his first year, but his first like half of the year was really poor. And he was poor in the way that he was getting the ball, but he was missing shots from like 10 meters out. And you're like, is this guy actually as skillful as we think?
Yeah.
Whatever that was, confidence, getting used to the game, I don't know. But man, he's just incredible. What a player.
It's funny. I should mention, friend of the pod, Chris, mentioned to us that was the worst segment that you guys had was the Nick Watson watch. Because we were doing a Nick Watson watch, like, you know, is he a wizard? Is he a muggle? What's the go? You know, we made some Harry Potter references. And in the end, you're right, Chris. That was an L on our part.
To be fair, we phased it out as soon as he won the respect. It was over.
Yeah, true.
You
No,
know,
you're right.
We didn't drag
It wasn't a Kane Corns, Taranto's not a top 50.
No, and like
not
George
100
said, he was
player.
missing like weird shot, like right in front stuff. So we sort of had to talk about it. But
no, that's
fair enough, Chris.
That
That's
is fair.
fair.
But no, he's excellent. That goal from my former favorite Will, Will
Is that
Day.
goal of the year, man?
That look, I don't think it can be because there's no look. I can't.
Bro, 70 meters out, man.
Yeah, but you can't think that that's skill, right? Him just banging it into the 50.
I wouldn't put it past him, man, to get the curvature of the wind.
Yeah, true, maybe. Yeah,
Velocity,
perhaps.
some physics involved.
That patch of the game was like crazy from Will Day.
Yeah.
Kicks that, and then the other one, whoa, the
Yeah.
behind in the end.
Nah, he's a gun. I'm ashamed of myself for trading him out as Supercoach. But yeah, no, I had to do it. I had to bring in Finn Callahan, who got tagged out of this game. So that's just absolute, man. That's just that's a gut punch.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
You can only have one Will on the team at all times.
Well, I had two. Will and
one had to go.
I know.
You had to do it.
I had to eliminate one. So unfortunately, actually, no. The one I kept got the better score. So
There you go. You
we'll
can sleep
take
at
that.
night. That's all right.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But no, well done to the Hawks.
The thing is, are they flag favourites now? Other than maybe Brisbane?
Look, I can't make a case for why they're not,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
And all their players, like Mackenzie had an amazing performance. Ward, the Wizard, Weddle, Ginnivan. Like, these guys are just scratching the surface. They're super young. They're like 20 years old. Ginnivan's a bit older. Dave's just coming to his prime. These guys are going to be competing for the next 10 years, man.
Yeah.
It's not like they've got this 26-year-old main list, but these guys are kids.
Yeah. And this year, I don't know, to my eye so far, there's not any one team that's like, oh, they're scary. They're scarier than the rest.
Yeah.
I think they're in that scary, like, top four. You don't want to really play them every week, like the Giants or Hawks or... I mean, who else is really up there? The Lions. You probably don't want to play the Lions most weeks.
They're probably the best.
Adelaide
three.
right now is playing pretty well.
Adelaide as well.
But there's not really a team that they can't beat. So,
Yeah, I agree.
why can't they be the favourite? And you're right. Probably the AFL wouldn't want them winning this year because there's probably more to come.
Yeah,
That's
true.
a lot
Maybe
more
another
to come.
dynasty potentially.
Yeah.
So
Well, look, we were talking about Essendon earlier, saying how that they can't beat the bye. Hawthorn might actually do it.
But keep an eye on the ladder. If they have another 4 points at the end of the week, like,
Don't be surprised.
something's
man.
going on.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the North game here. So interesting result in the end, 36 points. I actually, and this is completely true, I was thinking to myself, because a lot of talk online was like, what's a pass mark for North in this game? We've just had a really great win, best win in recent memory. You go into the form team of the comp, at least from a goal scored point of view, and obviously wins. And like, what's acceptable? Because we probably knew we were going to lose, but like, what's the margin here? And I honestly had in my head, like, anything under 35, I'm like, we must have made a good account for ourselves. We lost by 36. I'm pissed.
Yeah.
How dare we?
Shocking.
Oh, man.
I watched all but the last quarter. I had to go to basketball. Got the L on that one, so that wasn't fun. But
man, doubling down on
doubling
the L's,
down on
man.
the L's. But what I saw from North Melbourne, and this is what Clark has been saying since preseason, was we want to stay in games as long as we can. And I must credit the boys, because if this was last year, we're losing this game by as much as Bombers did, by as much as the Saints did, guaranteed, probably more.
Yeah.
What we've managed to do is now stop the goals from 6-7 in a row to 3. I think a couple times there was 4, but quite often it was like 2 or 3. And then we're slowing the game down. We're chipping it around, making a real effort to not let that onslaught continue. So well done to the boys, and then capitalizing ourselves with quite a few goals. Like in a loss to a really good team, put up a decent score as well. So I'll get into a few more things, but that's sort of my overarching thoughts is we're a different team now. We're hanging in games for longer, which is what we want. But Crows are really good, man. They're a great team.
100%. Well, look, I'm looking at the scoring worm right now, and so we kept it within about 15-ish, 20-ish points until about the 3 ways through the third quarter. You know what I mean? So quite far into the game, we were in it, and then the Crows just sort of took it away. What I will say from both teams was the pressure was ridiculously high from both teams. So that's something that positive for both teams. The conditions were weird. It was sort of a swirly wind. The skills were really poor at one stage. In the second half, I didn't even know if I wanted to watch the game anymore, to be honest with you. I was falling asleep. I'm like, what is going on here? Out on the full, this and that. But look, from a North perspective, I think it's annoying that we lose, but like I think it's a solid performance. It's prior to the start of this season, if you told me 36 points against Adelaide, it would have been borderline a pass. You know what I mean? Now you would say it's about par, I would say, with the little bit of expectations that we've got, it's okay. You know what I mean? But yeah, look, the pressure was there for most of the game. I think the skills probably let us down, in the back half the most. But I think that's a credit to the way Adelaide play. They didn't let us drive the car. They didn't give us any space to progress the ball up the field. And then we ended up having to just boot it down the line. And we couldn't really play the game style that we want to.
The game was played on their terms for over 3/4 of the game. And there, like I said, there was moments where we're saying, like, hang on, let's just chip it around a bit. And to the boys' credit, again, we would never have done that last year. So the ability to recognize when to do that and do it pretty well. There's some bad kicks in there as well, but that was promising. But I've just written here, like, the Crows' spread and speed is ridiculous. And it's the confidence that the guys that are responsible for getting the ball will get it, like, makes it work. And that's why they do give up a bit of a score. They're not shutting teams out. They're happy to engage in a high transition game. But obviously Rankin's the obvious one. He's already off 15 meters waiting to get that ball. And he just seems like he's always open on the outside. Like, why does it keep happening? I don't know why no one's on him, but he's obviously just that quick. And other players
probably reads the play well, and he's probably got confidence that Adelaide's going to win it.
Correct.
Yeah, so just runs to the attack.
You get like obviously your Dawsons and Crouch are in there actually winning it. Saligo, I don't think he's underrated anymore. People are talking about him with more respect. Saligo.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like he's responsible for that in and under, but also his spread speed is crazy as well, and his pressure. And then obviously when they can move it so quickly, there was a few times they just got out behind, like Ethel Thorpe's Tex just feasting on that stuff. Obviously Fogarty. So when the game's played like that, those guys are kicking a couple each. It's just you can't stop it.
Yeah. See, those are the parts of games where last year that would have been happening way, way, way too often. Correct. In this game, it doesn't happen as often, but you see it and it's just like it's that numb, familiar feeling of us getting the counterattack just destroying us. But
when we won it out of the middle after a goal, we looked really good. For the most part. I think the center clearances we did all right. We actually won it, but the overall clearance game, it was pretty even. We slightly lost it. But
look, I feel like they had us in the contest. But the interesting thing, the start of the game, first 5 minutes, Sherry goes down and you could see him, having a, holding the hamstring and seeing, what's going on. There was a bit of hamstring awareness, you could say. I wonder how much that affected our ability to win, the contest, because I feel like he's a big part of it. It wasn't his best game in the end. It was, it was a pretty...
He was battling out there,
Excuse me. It was a bit of a subpar performance from him. So I wonder how much that sort of impacted, how much of a goal... How many goals does that swing the other way? I don't really know.
Well, to start the game, I mean, Adelaide came out hot, and when he was off, they kicked their couple goals, like jump out to that hot start. So, no, that end of the quarter, we got a bit of umpire's grace, to be honest. Kicked a few late goals.
100% we did.
I was a bit disappointed in the middle there. Like, Tom Powell didn't really back up last week's performance at all.
No.
LDU was good in spurts, but we need a bit more consistency, and like the Adelaide players were way more on it the whole game. There was a moment, you mentioned we were in the game till quite deep into the game. There was a moment in the third, we were down 9, and then Curtis gave away that 50-metre penalty in our forward 50. And then that's resulted in a goal because O'Sullivan turned it over. So it was a young kid, inexperienced, kicked it and gave a gift. So there was just moments there, like we're up 9. We're down 9. It could have been maybe 3 points, could have just stayed there. And it's just gone like dumb 50 goal. Now it's 16 and then it just ballooned out again. So no, I'm no less confident in the team because of this performance though. Put it that way.
And you mentioned Finn O'Sullivan, man. How good is he? regardless of that, he makes a couple mistakes here and there. Him when he gets the ball, he's doing spins. I don't know if it's like he enjoys spinning, bro. He loves to just spin out of tackles and just using his athleticism and using his burst. It's gonna look good in the guts eventually, because I'm assuming he'll move into the midfield at some point. It's going to be a lot of fun in there. So I'm very happy with that pick. I think despite the low numbers, like it's not super impressive numbers wise, he might be one of the best performing players from that draft, I would say. I think he's up there.
Yeah, he's a high-end talent for sure. But no, credit to the Crows. One other thing I wanted to mention about them is North seem to always be dumping the ball into a contest, and then obviously the third man up getting involved. Worrell's pretty good, and guys like that. But
Hinge was excellent as well.
Hinge was good, yeah, and that's what I mean. Like the game was played on their terms, because there was occasions where we were hitting targets on the lead or dropping into the chest, but a lot of the time we're just dumping it in. Whereas their ball movement's coming in and more likely to be a one-on-one or out behind. So clearly there was a skill gap, but the way they defend, like there's no one clear like key defender like there is for most teams, like a Waitering or whoever for other teams. It's all just like similar height guys, like low 190s, and they all just get involved. And again, it's like that positionless, like whoever's in the best position to deal with the situation just goes. And they just deal with it, which is
I like that.
It's a good team ethos, I think. It bodes well for them. But
and even with it was Murray coming out, Ball Ace comes in and he does his thing, you know what I mean? So they've got, shout out Ball Ace. But like it just shows that they've got that little bit of depth and they've got that team structure that even with a laid out, they can still, run a pretty decent defense.
Yep.
So
well done North, good effort. Well done Crows. Even more importantly, they're kicking goals for fun, man. Another 17. So geez.
Yeah, I mean, 135, 161, 114 in 3 games.
It's formidable.
I think any team that's kind of from 9th or 10th on the ladder all the way down to the bottom is very likely to get smashed by this team. I think they're at the stage where anyone that's just below them, they just destroy them scores. But we haven't got a chance to see the Crows perform or fight up against a proper team yet. If you think of Saints, Essendon, North, they're not exactly contenders at the moment. So it'll be interesting to see how they go up against like a really good team. But I think any other team that hasn't versed them yet, like a Carlton or a Melbourne or a Port Adelaide or any of these guys, are in big trouble when they face them.
And I think it is telling that North's given them their most difficult matchup to date in comparison to those other two. So I'll take it. But certainly hasn't rattled me and lowered my confidence in what we're doing this year. So that's a passable, despite it fell 1 point over my pass grade. I'll still give it all out.
That's it. No, I think well summarised there, mate. Last game of the week was the Perth Derby. And I think it's a pretty, it's an expected result. Like, I feel like does the scoreline almost look flattering to the Eagles, or am I imagining that a little bit?
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm looking at the scoreworm right now. That probably says the story. It was just a downhill slope pretty steadily the whole game.
There
was not one quarter that...
Kind of a boring game, wasn't
it? Yeah, they did start well, West Coast. They did start brightly. Freo, they keep seeming to find, debutants who score multiple goals. Actually, it was only 2 goals in the end, but Dudley comes in and he shows a bit of excitement and scores two of their first goals in the first quarter. They keep finding kids who score goals and make impact. It's what we expected. Let's be fair. Like that midfield dominates. O'Driscoll just keeps impressing us.
Yeah,
he's a gun, man.
Handy player.
Murphy Reed's a gun as well.
My boy.
Yeah, that is Dino's boy. That is definitely Dino's boy.
I thought Voss, he's got a bit of presence to him. He can't kick. He's 1 goal 3, but he was on the Bombers list, wasn't he?
He was.
They didn't really give him a crack. And now he's come to Freo, they're not playing amazing football, but you're sort of watching, like he belongs on an AFL field. He's a bit raw. It's giving me sort of like Neil vibes, Matter, your boy.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Some vibes there. I don't know.
He's got a very aggressive look. He stares you down, even through the screen.
He's only 21, so he's 195, 21 years old. I don't know. I just think Bombers probably cut the cord on him a year too soon. Maybe give him a crack in this current side. He probably gets a game.
Yeah.
Help out Caddy, a bit of a more physical player.
Look, you've put me on notice that you've compared him to a player that I'm quite fond of. But the thing I will say with him is that physically he's imposing and he's got that energy. Like even when he celebrated his goal, it looked like he was trying to high five his teammates' hands off. Yeah. Like he looked just just like a really energetic, powerful unit.
I think he's got something to him. I don't know. I kind of liked He caught my eye, even though he didn't have the best game.
Yeah, I think he fits. He fits as the third forward when you've got the class of Amos and Tracy, and tea time. So it sort of he's in a good position where he is right now. Eventually, he probably goes out to Darcy, taking Luke Jackson's spot in the ruck and Jackson going forward. But it sort of shows that if say Darcy, knock on wood, Darcy has problems with coming back and he can't get any continuity, which is what's been the story of his career so far. You have a decent sort of fallback option in having Voss as the third forward and Luke Jackson just doing his thing in the ruck. Which look, Luke Jackson as a number one ruck. I know he's one of Georgie's boys. Yeah. He loves him some Lukey Jackson.
Luke Jackson had a big game as well, to be fair. So, Freo got their first win, and hopefully beating West Coast gives them a bit of confidence because I think they needed a bit of that. So we'll see where they go from there. But you're right, expected. Do you want to be like every other kind of footy classified and every other football thing and talk about Reid?
I think, mate, he's... I think his mind's out of it. Yeah, his mind's out of it, guys. And I think he's trying to figure out a way just to get back to Victoria.
St Kilda's offer him $30 million a year. And
it was funny though because
he might have to take it.
We're watching the end of the game here, and we're all sort of having this conversation a bit more like seriously. And right when Matza was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a bit overrated." He takes a specky.
I know, legit.
The second he says overrated, he marks it.
Oh man, egg on my face there.
I know, look, it is hard. It must be the most frustrating thing playing on a bad team, and now it doesn't excuse him for having worse attitude than the rest of them. I think that's the problem here.
We had 2 kicks and 2 free kicks against in the first quarter. That's it.
And it is like, I know we discuss Horn Francis a lot, but like North was a bad team when he was here. Definitely that played into him wanting to leave.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I think it's a real thing. And when you're a gun your whole life and then you're in the system and you're in a bad team all of a sudden, probably for the first time ever, it's probably a hard like ego reality check. So I don't know. I'm not here to excuse him or sort of praise him or anything, but I just think...
I think it's fair for us to have better expectations than what he dished out today. Like, because if you think Watson's a second-year
the actual
player,
performance, for sure.
There's plenty of second-year players that are having a big impact on their team.
I don't mind the attitude overall, though.
I like the attitude, but you want it to be attitude backed up by like a cheeky goal, not
correct. Yeah,
not just knocking people out for no reason.
Yeah, I think it doesn't help as well that he had that game last year where they won the derby, right? They had that performance where it was like he was manhandling Fife and this and that, and it's just like, wow, look at this kid. Yeah. You just expect progression to be linear, and that this year he was going to explode and just be, an uber mid.
Yeah,
but it's just you can't. Yeah, again, progression isn't linear, and I think it's not going to happen.
What's probably annoying as well is, or for his teammates maybe, is he's getting into it all the time, and teams are targeting him now because they know they can get under his skin and have a bit of a scuffle. Yeah. Like as a teammate, it's probably like every second quarter having to like rip someone's jumper just to get him off you. It's probably maybe getting a bit annoying. I don't know.
Yeah.
For me, that would be annoying if I was his teammate. But
that's fair.
At the end of the day, they've just got to keep building the right way, have a few wins here and there. Because they're capable of turning up. I mean, last week against Brisbane was half decent performance, right?
They can turn up. Yeah.
I think he's the confidence and sort of vibes player as well to an extent. So,
no, that's true. That is true, man. We'll
do some tips.
Get into some tips, man.
Cheeky tips. Yeah,
George mentioned earlier, there's no way Carlton wins. He's trying to make the universe have him win.
Man, do we have to, like, another Thursday night game, man? Like, I just want a Sunday afternoon, like, no one's watching type of thing, bro. Huh?
Not happening,
I'm sick of these Thursday nights, man.
Chat's going to be hot. All eyes on it.
Bro, the AFL knows, and I swear it's a thing, man. I feel like half the female population of Australia are Carlton fans. And the reason for it is because Carlton... You guys are reality TV. So you're not even a football club at this stage. It's just the drama.
That's a good call, man.
Legit.
We're married at first sight, for football.
Exactly right.
Maps into Thursday night footy.
Yeah, and you've got the handsome curly head, Charlie Kerno, and
Jack Sylvain is a bit of a little bit of a hottie. Apparently.
Yeah, exactly. Paddy Cripps,
it's allegedly.
Yeah,
allegedly a hottie. Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's just like I think
that's legit. A good take, man.
No, that's why they play Thursday nights, mate.
Look, I did like The Bachelor when I was growing up. I enjoyed The Bachelor, but
see, that's influencing your picking team.
I didn't I stopped liking reality TV because I realized it was fake. And I guess Cullen's a bit of a fake football team as well. So there you go, parallels.
Yeah. See, how can they have such stylish, kits? You know what I mean? The navy blue, man. That's
it's what can I say, man?
You know what I mean?
The only good thing about them is their emblem.
Yeah, no,
that
it
they
is-
don't play for.
yeah. Called
Look,
out.
let's be honest, right? Carlton's not winning.
We
this.
have to tip Collingwood. There's
Yeah.
no
But
logic.
it's not that. First of all, Collingwood always beats Carlton.
Yeah.
And Collingwood, for all their faults, are good at playing high pressure games.
Yeah.
Right? They turn up for high pressure. They're not afraid of the moment, and their fans always get them through. Right?
Yeah.
So Carlton's under pressure. It's a massive rivalry, and it's going to be your 85 to 90,000 or more. Right? I don't know if it's a Carlton or Collingwood home game. It probably makes
Pies.
Collingwood.
Pies. So big crowd, right? Given the fact that they know they're going to win. How does Carlton win this game, man? How? With their wobbles.
Yeah, no, I can't see it.
It's hard to see a world. I will say this, and I'm happy for this to go on the record. Collingwood is coming off the bye, and last year, teams off the bye, I think if I'm remembering correctly, there was like a thing where they just weren't performing after a bye.
It's Carlton Collingwood, man.
Giants just lost after a bye. I mean, Suns won, but they were playing the atrocious Melbourne side.
Yeah.
So I'll happy to put it on the record. I've half considered Carlton, but I'm going to tip Collingwood.
Yeah.
That's it. Next game, probably even more of a surefire is Geelong smashing our Melbourne.
I don't even know where I'm going with this, but like if Melbourne wins this game, I don't know. Finish the sentence, but like there's no way.
What's Dean doing? Let us know, guys. What is Dean doing?
I will consider anything you write.
Yeah,
he'll get a Melbourne
Not
membership.
saying I'll
He'll
do
get
it.
a Melbourne membership if they win.
Yeah, not that he'll do it, but
no
just how creative can you guys get?
Yeah, how creative can you get? What should Dino do? But I'm not going to do it because it's not happening. Geelong's winning this handsomely.
Yeah, this tipping's been
He'll change his name to Melbourne Van Doris.
To a dang
Purple Monkey Dishwasher. There
To
you
a
go.
dang orange. No way.
right.
Geelong 100%.
All right, now it gets interesting, right? Gold Coast at People's First versus Adelaide.
Well, this is when we're going to find out if either of these teams are real. Because if Gold Coast wins, they're real to me. If they lose, they're not. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Because this is the test.
Yeah, and it's at home,
It's at
where
home.
they usually play better.
Correct.
Dewy conditions suits them.
And the Crows have been great. They've also, to the Bombers, they leaked 100 points, and to us, 70 odd. So they can be scored against. I'm actually going to tip the Suns.
I'm going Suns as
I'm
well.
going to back them in at
I'm
home.
going Suns, man. My boys.
Yeah, that's a tough one, man. That's a tough one. I'll go with the Suns for now, but I don't know. My official tips when I lock them in, I don't know if it's going to stay that way.
Okay.
But yeah, next game, Richmond versus Brizzy at the MCG.
Got to be busy.
Yeah, easy tip there.
For this
Now-
one, I want your honest opinion first, and then we'll chime in as the North fan. So North hosting the Swannies at Marvel. What are your honest thoughts on the game, having seen a few rounds of football?
They're just coming off the bye, aren't they?
Coming off the bye, that's a bit of an omen for North Island.
A couple of was it the Swans a couple of years ago where you guys had that interchange kerfuffle and you
Correct.
lost that?
Correct.
Do you reckon that they've got
At
good
our
memories? They got good memories.
At
the
our
boys?
worst, we gave them a game that we should have won it. Anyway.
Yeah, no, I think you guys will be in it. But I don't know how the Swans play at Marvel. I feel like they're good at the MCG, but
I'm personally...
that could be one of those stages where they're not as good.
I honestly think we can get at them and win this.
I think you can, but naturally I'll tip the Swans. But yeah,
I'll be tipping North, mate. I did tip Adelaide against North, and that felt disgusting. But in this game where it's a bit more of a 50-50, where, Swans coming off the bye, they haven't necessarily been the best team at this point. We haven't really seen, that much out of them. I'm happy to go North.
I'm not, and I'll put a bit of context why I'm confident. Obviously,
Confident.
good vibes from last week at Marvel. I think we play Marvel better than they do. And I do have that memory of playing well against them, even at our worst. But I'm not scared of their key forwards. And this is an open challenge to Amadi and whoever else they're playing up there, McCartan these days. I'm not scared of you.
yeah.
So
I don't think you should be.
And I think if we can stop Papley or whoever else they're going to roll there as the small. In other words, I think every team we've played so far has given me a bit more to worry about, bar Melbourne. And I think we can get at them, personally. It's all about the guts, though, as always. You win it out of the guts.
No,
I think
we're a
especially
chance.
for North Melbourne, we're a chance.
Yeah.
So I'm going to tip us on it pretty confidently, to be honest.
Next game, another easy tip. Giants versus the Eagles at NG Stadium. That'll be the easy.
Giants, yep.
Yeah. No, what does Dean do if the Eagles win?
Nah. I'm really down on Melbourne. That's why I
Yeah.
went so hard in that tip there. But Eagles, I expect nothing.
Yeah. So Port versus St Kilda at Adelaide Oval. Now it's interesting. So it's $1.51 to $2.50. St Kilda $2.50. I think it's a little bit harsh on the Saints, to be honest with you. I feel like it kind of has to even out. Just
I reckon the
little
Saints
bit.
would be favourites if it was at Marvel, to be honest.
Yeah, no, 100%.
I think it's just the Adelaide Oval.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to go Saints because I like the idea of it.
Same. If you want to get a little bit of a swing pick, you know what I mean? And but then Port have to respond as well. And at Adelaide Oval. Maybe I'll go Port Adelaide, man.
I have no confidence, but I'll tip Port.
Yeah.
Just for the fact that, Saints were there just 2 weeks ago, got pounced. Port not as good as Adelaide, but, they've got to respond.
Yeah.
I'll back them into respond.
I've got more confidence in the Saints this year. I feel like
fair enough.
Jack McRae shored them up a bit.
Yeah, look, I might flip my pick, my tip there. Not gonna lie, this is not going to be final. And the last game is Freo versus the Doggies at Optus, and that's an interesting game as well because I think the Dogs to this point have been a better team than Freo, but it is at Optus. So
I'm gonna go Dogs. I think they're just a better football team.
Yeah, you know what? I'm trying to think out of their defenders. I don't know who's gonna stop Darcy. Who's gonna stop Norton. Like I feel like Pierce is always injured. Like you know what I mean. Like I don't know. Yeah,
I think I'm gonna go Freo just because I feel like this win has just given them a little bit of a boost, and I think it'll carry a bit of momentum for them.
Yeah, no, I'll go Dogs. Though. But yeah, and then Essendon and Hawks are on the bye. That's all for next week, guys.
Nice one.
But yeah, nah. Got anything to add, lads?
Don't think so, but thanks again for the 500 subs.
Yeah, very excited, and we'll be pushing forward into the future. More content, weekly content, baby. We'll be back. I'll be back with a Supercoach episode soon, which you guys will see. And see you on the next one.
I'm gonna just quickly when you go to Draftland on the Supercoach video, I want a bit of a shout out for being 3-0. That's all.
All right, I will.
I want a bit of a ladder review if you can add that in.
If I remember, I'll add Dino's team to the draft.
Not specific, just a bit of a ladder. Keep
you can just ignore my team if that's okay.
No, look, if I'm gonna talk about Dino, I don't want you to feel left out. So I'll talk about.
I just want to
too.
glance at the ladder and just a bit of a boost to my morale.
If I remember, I will do it. All right. But thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one.
See ya.